The lights of Las Vegas had a way of swallowing people whole. Neon signs flickered against the night sky, music thundered from every corner, and laughter spilled into the streets. It was the kind of city where secrets were made, and mistakes were born. Sophia never planned on being in Vegas. If it weren't for her best friend's wild insistence on celebrating her bachelorette party here, she would have stayed in Atlanta, working her shifts and saving her money. But here she was, in a sequin dress she borrowed, heels that pinched her toes, and a smile she forced for the sake of her friends. Come on, Sophia. Loosen up. Her friend Jasmine yelled over the music as they pushed through the crowded strip. It's Vegas, baby. Sophia rolled her eyes but laughed anyway. Deep down, she longed for something more than the chaos, the endless noise, the strangers, the meaningless fun. Her life hadn't been easy, juggling bills, healing from a broken engagement, and trying to prove she could rise above the weight of her circumstances. Tonight, she just wanted to forget. Across the city, in a penthouse suite of a luxury hotel, John stared out over the dazzling skyline with little interest. To most, he had it all, billions in assets, a name that commanded respect in Korea's business world, and a lifestyle people envied. But John had grown numb to wealth. Business meetings, handshakes, and deals filled his days. But when night fell, silence haunted him. His colleagues had dragged him to Vegas for fun after a long business trip. Fun, they called it. But John didn't laugh. He didn't drink much either, until tonight. Something about the glittering emptiness of the city made him take one shot too many, and that was when fate played its trick. Sophia, separated from her group in the blur of the crowd, stumbled into the hotel bar. She was trying to order water when she noticed him, an impossibly polished man in a perfectly tailored suit, seated alone. His sharp jawline, the stillness in his eyes, the way the world seemed to bend away from him. He didn't belong here. John noticed her too. Amid the noisy crowd, she was different. Her laughter, even tired, had warmth. Her presence cut through the haze of neon. Without knowing why, he gestured to the seat beside him. You look like you don't want to be here either, he said, his Korean accent soft but noticeable. Sophia raised a brow. What gave it away? The fact I'm drinking water in the middle of Vegas? A ghost of a smile tugged at his lips. That, and you look honest. This city doesn't have much of that. They talked. About nothing, about everything. About her dreams of starting a small business one day, about his stories of Seoul. About how both of them, despite living in different worlds, felt lonely. One drink turned into two. Then laughter. Then dancing, the kind Sophia never thought she'd do in public. Time blurred. The next thing Sophia remembered was stumbling down a glittering hallway, John's hand warm in hers, both of them laughing like children sneaking out of school. A neon chapel sign blinked somewhere ahead. Words like why not? And just for fun floated between them. The night was a blur of vows spoken with slurred voices, rings exchanged under the smirk of an Elvis impersonating officiant, and a kiss that burned longer than either of them expected. When Sophia finally collapsed onto a silk-draped bed in a hotel suite. She thought it was all a ridiculous dream, but dreams end, and morning came. Sunlight spilled mercilessly through the curtains. Sophia groaned, head pounding, and turned over, only to freeze. John lay beside her, hair tousled, still in his dress shirt, his wedding ring glinting in the light. Her heart stopped. On the nightstand, a gold-framed certificate mocked her, marriage license, bride, Sophia Carter, groom, John Min Jae. Her scream echoed through the suite. John sat up instantly, blinking against the light, his hand flying to his forehead. He looked at her, then at the paper, and muttered in disbelief, "What have we done?" Sophia's scream hung in the air like shattered glass. Her heart thumped wildly in her chest as she stumbled out of the massive hotel bed, snatching the gold-trimmed certificate from the nightstand. Her eyes scanned the words again, praying she was hallucinating. Nope. It was real. Bride, Sophia Carter. Groom, John Min Jae. Her trembling hand flew to her mouth. Tell me this isn't happening, she whispered. John rubbed his temples, his face unreadable except for the faint crease between his brows. He was still half-dressed, his white shirt wrinkled from the night before, the top buttons undone. He looked disheveled yet frustratingly composed, like even chaos couldn't touch him. He took the paper from her gently, reading it with a steady gaze. It appears we got married, he said flatly. Appears. Sophia's voice shot up an octave. We are married. Do you see this ring? Do you see your name? She waved her left hand in the air, the small silver band glinting mockingly under the sunlight. Her stomach twisted. This can't be real. I don't even know you. John finally looked at her, his dark eyes calm, though something sharp glimmered behind them. I don't recall forcing you to say, I do. Sophia's jaw dropped. Excuse me? You're blaming me for this? He shrugged, maddeningly unbothered. It takes two people to get married. You said yes. Her hands flew to her head. This man, this stranger with an accent smooth enough to melt stone and an ego to match, was too calm. Too rational. She wanted to scream again. Instead, she paced the room, muttering to herself. This is fine. We'll just annul it. People do that all the time in Vegas. Quick fix. No one ever has to know. She clung to that thought like a lifeline, but John was silent. Too silent. When Sophia glanced at him, he was holding his phone. His jaw tightened as he scrolled through notifications. Then he cursed softly in Korean. What? She asked nervously. He turned the phone toward her. Her stomach dropped. On the screen were flashing headlines from gossip sites, photos plastered everywhere. Billionaire heir John Min-jae ties the knot in surprise Vegas wedding. And worse, there was a picture of her, hair messy, eyeliner smudged, holding John's hand as they stumbled out of the chapel laughing. Oh. My. God. Sophia covered her face with her hands. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. John stood, towering over her now, his expression hardening into something serious, almost cold. The media already knows. This will reach Seoul in hours. My family, they will demand answers. Sophia blinked. You're bored. Your family. Who are you? He hesitated for the first time, as though deciding how much truth to reveal. John Min-jae. CEO of John Group International. My family controls one of the largest conglomerates in Korea. Sophia nearly choked. Conglo, what? Wait. You mean you're like a billionaire? Yes. His tone was matter-of-fact, like he had just confirmed his favorite color. Sophia staggered back, shaking her head. Oh, no. No, no, no. This isn't just some stupid mistake anymore. I married a billionaire. This is insane. John slipped his hands into his pockets, his calm composure returning, though his eyes never left her. Then we must decide what to do next. Annul it. She blurted. Obviously. We go to the courthouse, we sign some papers, and poof, problem solved. But John didn't move. He studied her with an intensity that made her skin tingle. Then, slowly, a smile tugged at the corner of his lips, not mocking, but calculating. Or he said softly, we stay married. Sophia's jaw dropped. What? John stepped closer, lowering his voice like he was letting her in on a dangerous secret. The press already believes it. My family, my investors, they will see this marriage as stability, proof that I am settling down. It will protect me from arrangements I have no desire to accept. Sophia blinked, confused. Arrangements? His smile faded, replaced by a flicker of something bitter. An engagement my parents have been pressuring me into. A union of power. No love. No choice. The weight of his words settled between them. Sophia shook her head furiously. So you want me to what? Play wife to a billionaire I met last night? Do you hear yourself? He met her gaze, unflinching. In exchange, I'll ensure you are taken care of. Financial security. Freedom from whatever burdens you carry. Her lips parted, her heart twisting with equal parts anger and temptation. Did he just casually offer to solve every problem in her life? She thought of her overdue bills, her broken-down car, the dreams she'd shelved because reality didn't allow them. And then she looked at John, this man who somehow managed to look untouchable even with bad hair and a hangover. Everything in her screamed to walk away, but everything outside the door, the flashing cameras, the world waiting to feast on their scandal, pulled her deeper into the trap. Sophia's voice cracked as she whispered. This is crazy. John leaned closer, his gaze piercing. Crazy, yes. But perhaps also fate. Sophia is forced to make a choice, walk away now and risk public humiliation, or agree to John's deal and fly with him to Seoul, where an entirely new world of wealth, family pressure, and hidden feelings awaits. The silence stretched so long that Sophia thought she might actually scream again. She sat on the edge of the bed, arms folded tightly, as if holding herself together. Across the room, John leaned against the floor-to-ceiling window, his profile sharp against the blinding Vegas sunlight. He looked like he belonged in a painting, untouchable, unreachable, and she felt like a mouse caught in a lion's cage. Let me get this straight, Sophia said finally, her voice tight. You're suggesting that instead of erasing this mistake, we keep it? John didn't flinch. Yes. Her jaw dropped. Are you out of your billionaire mind? He turned, calm as ever, hands in his pockets. Think about it. If we annul this marriage, the press will spin it as recklessness, instability. It will damage my company's reputation, and my family's. Oh, boo-hoo, Sophia muttered under her breath. The poor billionaire might look bad in the papers. John's lips curved faintly. And you? Do you think the press will be kinder to you? They will call you a gold digger. A scammer. A woman who targeted me for money. You will have no peace. Sophia froze. She hadn't thought about that. Her stomach sank at the thought of strangers dissecting her life, dragging her name through headlines. He stepped closer, his gaze steady on hers. If we remain married, even temporarily, you gain protection. Stability. I gain freedom from the arrangement my parents want for me. It's mutually beneficial. Sophia laughed bitterly. Beneficial? You make it sound like a business contract, not a marriage. That's all it has to be, John said smoothly. A contract. Sophia stared at him, her chest rising and falling quickly. A contract. Just words. Just paper. But she knew better. Marriage wasn't just business, it was messy, emotional, dangerous. She had lived through heartbreak before. She swore she wouldn't put herself in that position again, and yet. She thought about her life back in Atlanta. The overdue rent notice sitting on her kitchen table. The way her boss kept cutting her hours. The dream she carried secretly, to start her own business one day, to be free, to live without fear of the next bill. John's words echoed in her head, you gain protection. Stability. She closed her eyes. What would it feel like, even just for a while, to live without that weight crushing her? Sophia exhaled shakily. How long? John blinked, caught off guard. What do you mean? If I agree to this insanity, she said, glaring at him, how long are we talking? Weeks? Months? He studied her for a long moment, then replied, 6 months. 6 months. She nearly choked. You want me to pretend to be your wife for half a year? Not pretend, he corrected smoothly. Legally, you are my wife. But after 6 months, we can divorce quietly. By then, the story will have settled, and I will be free of my parents' pressure. Sophia's head spun. Divorce. Marriage. 6 months with this infuriating, arrogant man. Was she really considering this? John extended his hand, his gaze unwavering. So. Do we have a deal? Sophia stared at his hand like it was a venomous snake. Every part of her screamed to run. But outside, the flashing cameras were still waiting. The headlines were already written. She swallowed hard. Slowly, hesitantly, she placed her hand in his. Fine, she whispered. But don't you dare think this means I like you. For the first time that morning, John's lips curved into a genuine smile. Understood. Hours later, the whirlwind began. By evening, Sophia was boarding a private jet for the very first time in her life. The sleek leather seats, the polished wood interior, the quiet efficiency of the flight attendants, it all felt like stepping into another world. She sat stiffly by the window, gripping the armrest, while John sat across from her, already buried in his tablet, issuing commands in rapid Korean. He looked perfectly at ease, as if this were just another Tuesday. Sophia couldn't stop sneaking glances at him. Who was this man, really? Behind the expensive suit and the calm voice, what did he want? What kind of life did he live? Her stomach twisted with unease. She was heading to Seoul with a man she barely knew, tied to him by law, by circumstance, by fate's cruel joke. She whispered to herself, what did I just get myself into? Across the aisle, John's gaze flicked up briefly, catching her eyes. For just a second, the mask slipped. And she saw it, the loneliness he carried, buried deep beneath the billionaire armor. Neither of them said a word. The plane lifted off, leaving Las Vegas behind. The descent into Seoul was breathtaking. From the airplane window, Sophia watched as the glittering city stretched endlessly below, towers of glass and steel, rivers reflecting the late afternoon sun, and streets buzzing with the kind of life she'd only seen in movies. But instead of excitement, a knot twisted in her stomach. She wasn't a tourist. She wasn't here for adventure. She was here as the accidental wife of a billionaire, about to meet a world that would swallow her whole, the moment she stepped off the private jet. Reality hit harder. A fleet of black luxury cars waited on the tarmac. Men in suits bowed to John, addressing him in Korean with crisp voices. They glanced at Sophia briefly, curiosity flickering in their eyes, but their faces quickly stiffened into polite masks. Stay close, John murmured, his hand lightly brushing her back as he guided her forward. His touch was brief, but steadying. Sophia lifted her chin, pretending her knees weren't trembling. The car ride into the city was silent except for the low hum of the engine. She tried to peek out the window, absorbing the unfamiliar streets, the signs written in Hangul, the endless sea of people. But her thoughts kept circling back to one truth, I don't belong here. The John family estate was nothing like she had imagined. Calling it a house felt like an insult. It was a sprawling mansion on the edge of the city, blending modern elegance with traditional Korean architecture. Wide courtyards framed with stone lanterns, cherry blossom trees in bloom despite the season, and a main hall so grand it looked like something out of a drama. Sophia froze at the entrance, her breath catching. She wasn't ready for this, but there was no time to hesitate. The massive front doors opened, and inside, a gathering awaited. John's family. At the center sat his grandmother, a regal woman with silver hair pulled neatly into a bun, dressed in a hanbok of deep royal blue. Her sharp eyes assessed Sophia the way a jeweler examines a stone, looking for cracks, for flaws. Beside her, John's parents stood stiffly. His father, stern and imposing, radiated authority. His mother, elegant but cold, gave Sophia a smile so thin it could cut glass. The air thickened with silence. Finally, John's grandmother spoke. So, she said in Korean, her voice strong despite her age, this is your wife. John gave a respectful bow. Yes, Halmione. Then, turning, he offered Sophia his hand. She hesitated for only a moment before slipping her fingers into his. His grip was firm, grounding. This is Sophia Carter, John said, his English crisp for her sake. My wife. Sophia forced a polite smile and gave a small bow, hoping she wasn't doing it wrong. It's very nice to meet you. A ripple of whispers spread among the family members in the room. John's father stepped forward, his expression unreadable. From America, he said, his accent heavy but clear. And not Korean. The words hung in the air like an accusation. Sophia's smile faltered. Heat rushed to her cheeks, but before she could respond, John's voice cut through the tension. She is my wife, he said firmly, his tone brooking no argument. That is all that matters. Sophia glanced at him in surprise. For the first time since this madness began, she felt a flicker of something strange, safety, but the battle was far from over. Dinner was served in a grand hall with a long table set for more people than Sophia could count. The food looked exquisite, but she barely tasted it. Every pair of eyes in the room was on her, weighing her, measuring her. The whispers were soft, but she caught fragments. Foreigner scandal gold digger. She clenched her chopsticks tighter, her appetite gone. Then, out of nowhere, John's mother asked coolly, tell me, Sophia. What does your family do? What status do they hold in America? Sophia froze. Status? How was she supposed to explain growing up in a modest neighborhood, her mom working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table? Would they laugh? Judge, before she could stumble through an answer, John set his chopsticks down with a sharp clink. My wife is not required to prove herself to anyone, he said, his voice like steel. His gaze swept the table, daring anyone to challenge him. The room fell silent. Sophia's chest tightened. She looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, she saw past the billionaire mask. He wasn't just protecting his image. He was protecting her. Later that night, in the guest room she'd been given, Sophia sat by the window, staring at the city lights in the distance. Her heart was heavy. She didn't belong here. She knew it. They knew it, and yet, John's words echoed in her mind. My wife is not required to prove herself to anyone. For reasons she couldn't explain, the memory made her chest ache in a way that scared her more than anything else. The days that followed were a blur. Sophia was swept into John's world like a leaf caught in a storm. Endless formal dinners, boardroom events, and camera flashes that never seemed to stop. Everywhere she went, whispers followed. Some polite, most not. She tried to smile, tried to stand tall, but every word, every sideways glance reminded her of one brutal truth. She didn't belong here, and yet, there was John, cold and polished in public, but behind closed doors, he surprised her in small, quiet ways. When she stumbled over Korean phrases, he patiently corrected her. When she got lost in the sprawling mansion, he wordlessly guided her back. Once, when he caught her sneaking a plate of snacks to her room because she hadn't eaten at dinner, he didn't scold or tease, he simply joined her on the floor, tie loosened, sharing grapes and laughter until midnight. It was infuriating. Because every time she told herself this marriage was a business deal, not real, those little moments chipped away at her resolve. Sophia Carter was not supposed to fall for John Min-jae, but her heart wasn't listening. The breaking point came one glittering Friday evening at a gala in downtown Seoul. The ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers, golden accents, and the buzz of the city's elite. Sophia had been styled by John's personal assistant, her natural curls pinned into an elegant bun, her body hugged by a gown worth more than her old apartment. She felt like Cinderella at the ball, until the whispers started again. Who is she? Not even Korean. I heard she worked in some diner in America. A gold digger, obviously. What else could she be? Sophia's throat tightened as the words pierced her like knives. She lifted her champagne glass to her lips just to keep her hands from trembling, and then it got worse. Across the room, a stunning woman approached John, tall, poised, dressed in a gown that shimmered like liquid silver. She kissed him lightly on both cheeks and spoke in rapid Korean, her hand lingering on his arm. The ease between them was undeniable. Sophia's chest clenched. John introduced her politely, but the woman barely glanced at Sophia before slipping into conversation with him. They laughed together, voices low and familiar, as if they were the only 2 people in the room. Sophia's cheeks burned. She set her glass down too hard, the stem almost snapping. She didn't know why jealousy surged through her veins, but it did, hot and wild. She needed air. Out on the balcony, the city stretched below like a sea of stars. Sophia gripped the railing, willing herself to breathe. This isn't real. Remember the deal. He doesn't belong to you. But the ache in her chest told a different story. The next morning, the scandal broke. Sophia awoke to the sound of her phone buzzing relentlessly. Messages from Jasmine, from old co-workers, even from distant relatives she hadn't spoken to in years. All saying the same thing. Have you seen the news? Her heart dropped as she clicked the first link. On the screen was her own face, smiling awkwardly beside John at the gala. And beneath it, the headline screamed, Mystery Wife Exposed, American Woman Accused of Trapping John Min-jae in Scandalous Vegas Marriage. The article was vicious. It painted her as a schemer, a broke waitress who had seduced John for money. It dug up her past, her student loans, even her broken engagement. Strangers online were already tearing her apart in the comments, tears stung her eyes. Her hands shook as she dropped the phone onto the bed, a knock on the door startled her. "Come in," she managed, her voice cracking. John entered, crisp in his suit as always, his expression unreadable. He glanced at the phone, then back at her. "You've seen it." Sophia's chest heaved. "They're calling me a fraud. A gold digger. Like I planned all of this." She choked on the words, pressing her fists to her eyes. "I didn't ask for any of this, John. I didn't ask to be dragged into your world." Silence. Then she felt his hand close gently over hers, pulling them away from her face. His eyes, usually so cold and controlled, burned with something fierce. "Listen to me." His voice was low, steady. "You are my wife. Do you understand? No matter what they write, no matter what they say, you belong here because I say so." Sophia's breath hitched. Her gaze locked with his, and for a moment, the rest of the world disappeared, but then she pulled back, shaking her head. "This isn't what we agreed on. I can't live like this, John. I can't be the woman everyone hates." His jaw tightened. His voice dropped even lower, almost a whisper. "And what about me, Sophia? Do you think I care what they say? The only thing that matters," he stopped abruptly, as if he'd said too much. Sophia's heart pounded. "The only thing that matters what?" But John turned away, his mask slipping back into place. "Pack a bag. We're going away for a few days. Somewhere private." "Where?" she asked, still shaken. He didn't look back. "Away from the noise. And away from anyone who dares to touch what's mine." The car ride out of Seoul was silent, thick with unspoken words. Sophia sat pressed against the window, arms crossed, trying to hide the storm inside her chest. Outside, the glittering city faded into rolling hills and quiet stretches of countryside. She had no idea where John was taking her, and part of her was afraid to ask. He sat on the other side, calm as ever, his profile hard against the fading sunlight. But she could see it, the way his jaw clenched when his phone buzzed with yet another notification, the way he ignored every call. The scandal was everywhere. She could feel it in the tension that radiated off him, in the way even his silence seemed louder than words. Finally, after hours of driving, the car pulled up to a secluded villa perched on a cliffside overlooking the ocean. The place was breathtaking, glass walls, modern architecture, and the endless sea stretching out like a painted horizon, but Sophia barely saw any of it. Her heart was pounding too hard. Inside, the villa was quiet. The air filled with the scent of cedarwood. A fireplace crackled softly in the living room. "It was beautiful, too intimate." "This place is private," John said, his voice deep and clipped. "No paparazzi. No board members. No family. Just us." The way he said "just us" made Sophia's pulse quicken. She forced a shaky laugh. "So, what, this is our honeymoon hideaway?" John's eyes flicked to hers, unreadable. "If you want to call it that." Her breath caught. His words hung between them like static in the air. The first night was unbearable. Sophia couldn't sleep. She paced the guest room, her thoughts a tangled mess. Why had he brought her here? To protect her? To claim control? Or because he wanted her? She pressed her hands to her face, groaning. "Stop it, Sophia. This isn't real. Remember the deal." But her heart betrayed her. It raced every time she thought of his hand over hers that morning, of the way his voice had cracked when he said she belonged. The next evening, the tension finally snapped. They were in the villa's kitchen, cooking dinner together because the staff had been dismissed for privacy. Sophia was chopping vegetables when John's phone lit up on the counter. A name flashed on the screen, the same elegant woman from the gala. Sophia froze. John noticed immediately, his eyes narrowing as he snatched the phone and silenced it. "Why aren't you answering her?" Sophia asked, trying to sound casual, but her voice betrayed her. "Because it doesn't matter," John said flatly. Sophia's chest tightened. "It doesn't matter. She looked at you like you belonged to her. And the way you laughed with her." She cut herself off, biting her lip. She'd said too much. John's gaze sharpened. "Are you jealous, Sophia?" Her face burned. "Don't flatter yourself." But he stepped closer, closing the space between them. His presence was overwhelming, his eyes dark and unreadable. "Then why does it bother you? Why do you care who calls me?" She backed up against the counter, heart hammering. Because this whole thing is insane." She burst out. "We're supposed to be pretending. Just pretending. But you send mixed signals. You say it's a deal, but then you protect me like it's real. Her voice cracked. "You make it too easy to forget this isn't love." The silence after her words was deafening. John's jaw tightened, his breath heavy. He reached up, pressing his palm to the counter on either side of her, caging her in. His face hovered inches from hers. "What if I don't want to pretend anymore? He whispered. Sophia's eyes widened. John, his gaze dropped to her lips. For a moment, he hesitated, as if giving her the chance to push him away. But she didn't move. She couldn't, and then his lips crashed against hers. The kiss was nothing like the drunken blur in Vegas. This one was raw, fierce, desperate. His hand slid to her waist, pulling her closer, as if afraid she would vanish. Her fingers tangled in his shirt, clutching him like an anchor, all the tension, all the unspoken words, all the jealousy and longing poured into that single moment. When they finally broke apart, breathless, Sophia's heart was racing so hard it hurt. This wasn't part of the deal, she whispered. John's forehead rested against hers, his voice low, ragged. Then let's make a new one. John and Sophia finally confessed their feelings, but outside forces won't let their love be simple. The family, the press, and John's arranged engagement all crash back into their lives, forcing them to choose, walk away, or fight for a marriage that started by accident but became destiny. The kiss changed everything. For days, Sophia and John lived in a fragile bubble at the villa. Mornings blurred into late nights filled with quiet conversations, shared meals, and lingering touches that grew bolder with each passing hour. Sophia had never felt so close to him, never seen so many cracks in his cold exterior. Behind the sharp suits and polished confidence, John was surprisingly human, a man who carried the weight of his family's expectations, who longed for freedom in a life built on control. But even as she sank deeper into him, Sophia knew the bubble couldn't last. The world was waiting, and it wasn't going to be kind. The first blow came when John's father showed up at the villa unannounced. The moment he entered, the air turned icy. His eyes flicked over Sophia, filled with disdain, before settling on his son. "Enough games, mister," John said in clipped Korean. "You will annul this farce of a marriage immediately. The board is restless. The press is tearing us apart. And the Kim family is demanding an explanation." Sophia's stomach dropped. "The Kim family?" John's jaw tightened. "I told you before, I'm not interested in their daughter." Mr. John's voice sharpened like a blade. "You don't have the luxury of disinterest. This family has a legacy to protect. You will marry her. And this woman," he shot Sophia a look so cold she flinched, "will disappear quietly. Or she'll destroy us all." Sophia's chest ached, but she lifted her chin. She refused to be broken under his glare, but then Mr. John's next words shattered her. "Do you really think he'll choose you over everything he's built?" He sneered. "Over his family, his company, his future. You're nothing but a distraction. A mistake in Vegas that should have been erased." The silence was deafening. Sophia's throat tightened. She waited for John to speak, to defend her, to prove his father wrong, but John said nothing. His fists clenched at his sides, his eyes locked on the floor. That silence hurt more than any insult. That night, Sophia packed her bag. She stood by the window one last time, staring at the crashing waves outside. Tears blurred her vision, but she blinked them away. She couldn't stay. Not when she was tearing John's life apart. When John found her, she was already at the door. "Where are you going?" His voice was low, rough with something she couldn't name. "Home," she whispered. "Back to America. Back to my life. This was never meant to last, John. Your father's right. I don't belong here." He stepped forward, eyes blazing. "You think I care what he says?" "You should," she shot back, tears finally spilling over. "This is your family. Your company. Your world. And I don't fit into any of it. I'm just the mistake you were supposed to erase." Her voice broke on the last word. For a moment, John looked shattered. And then, without warning, he crossed the room and grabbed her hand. "You were never a mistake." His voice trembled, raw and unguarded. "Do you hear me, Sophia? Never." She stared up at him, her heart pounding. "Then what am I, John? Tell me. Because I can't keep guessing. I can't keep pretending this is just a deal." The silence stretched. His chest rose and fell, his eyes burning into hers. And then, finally. "You're my wife," he said, voice breaking. "Not by accident. Not by deal. By choice. I love you, Sophia. And I don't care if it destroys everything else. I won't lose you." Her breath caught. The words she thought she'd never hear hung between them, real and undeniable. For a moment, she was too stunned to speak. Then, slowly, she dropped her bag and threw her arms around him. "I love you too," she whispered against his chest, tears soaking his shirt. "Even if it's crazy. Even if the whole world is against us." His arms wrapped around her, holding her as if letting go would kill him, and for the first time, Sophia felt like she truly belonged. The storm wasn't over. The press, the family, the company, they would fight this marriage with everything they had, but Sophia and John had made their choice, and together, they were ready to face whatever came next. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode. Please do well to click the subscribe button to enable you see more of our videos.